Hey everyone, and welcome to Method's Guide to Silken Hollow for Fellowship's Early Access release. My name is Tactics, and in this video I'll take you through the most dangerous trash mobs, an easy to execute route, as well as tips and tricks for the final boss, Phixira, Mother of Nightmares. Note that everything in this video is based on pre-early access content, so it is possible that some things have changed since then, so just be aware. Also, if you're interested in more Fellowship Guide content, make sure you check out the Method YouTube channel, as we've got videos covering all the other early access content, including the remaining dungeons, as well as all the available heroes. Now let's get into it with some of the humanoid mobs you'll find at the start of the instance. Face stabbers are your source of random target damage, as they'll occasionally jump on a random player and start channeling stab your face, so be ready with CCs to stop this channel or use defensives if a CC isn't available. These guys also have a little bit of tank damage with their throw knife cast, but this isn't too dangerous on its own. On the topic of tanks, bully bashers are also at the beginning of this dungeon, and these CC immune mobs have the bully bash hit, so be ready with a defensive, especially if it overlaps with any of those other tank busters. Once you've pushed into Adept League and the Vaer's Legacy affix is active, you'll also want to make sure you assign one player to interrupt the Together Strong cast, otherwise it'll apply a 20% damage reduction to all nearby mobs. Last up in the starting area are frenzied looters, and these mobs will occasionally drop piles of gold on the ground nearby that players can run over to gain a stacking damage increase and slow, so make sure you use these to your advantage, and healers beware, as this effect is magical, so you can dispel it accidentally and remove that damage boost. After the initial few trash packs, the dungeon will fork, and you'll begin to encounter some spider-themed mobs along with the previously mentioned ones. Regardless of which side you pick, you'll encounter the same set of mobs, just in different pack compositions, and in general, I recommend heading down the rightmost path. In terms of what these mobs are, first up we have the Egg Bearers, who don't have any abilities of their own. However, on death, their eggs will hatch and spawn 3 spiderling mobs that tanks will need to be ready to pick up. Joining them are the Rotheart Recluses, who will debuff random players with the Heartstopper Magic Dot. This dot on its own is not very dangerous, however, if it expires, it deals a massive lethal hit to that player, so healers want to make sure that they are dispelling this whenever they see it. When it comes to casters, the main one in the dungeon are the Venom Drinkers, who just spam Venom Bolt at the tank, so use any spare interrupts on that ability. These mobs will also occasionally fire off a Poisonado, which chases your tank and applies stacks of the Necrotic Venom Dot to anyone it touches, so everyone will want to make sure they're avoiding these while the tank kites it, and if you have any spare dispels, you can use those on anyone who gets debuffed accidentally. On top of that, we've got Grave Snare Kidnappers, whose Razor Lace Web creates several puddles in a frontal cone, so tanks want to make sure they're pointing these mobs away from their group and then avoiding the puddles themselves. When Vaer's Legacy is active, these mobs gain the Kidnap cast, which you want to prioritize using an interrupt or CC on, otherwise they teleport away and attempt to drag a random player towards them, dealing high damage if successful. Last up, we've got the big Carrion Horrors, and these CC immune spiders just have the large group hit in Bursting Blood, which also applies a dot to the entire group, so be ready with group defensives or healing cooldowns for these casts. From there, we can talk about rooting, where, as I mentioned earlier, you'll initially be pulling most of what's in your way until the dungeon forks, at which point you'll take the rightmost path. Eventually, these paths will converge for a short time before splitting up again, where once more, you want to go along the right path, but this time, make sure you're staying along the left side of this pathway, as there are several nearby alcoves that have extra mobs you don't want to pull. From there, the paths will join up once more, and you'll be able to head straight into the final boss encounter, who immediately engages when the first player jumps down into the cave entrance. For tank players, you'll want to watch out for the Fang Strike cast, which just deals a large hit of damage, so make sure you always have a defensive running. You'll also want to watch out for the Call Children cast, which spawns a puddle of spiders, several spiderling mobs, as well as either a Rotheart Recluse or a Grave Snare Kidnapper, which have the same abilities as the regular trash versions you encountered earlier. The puddle of spiders everyone will want to watch out for, as it moves towards random players and applies a dot to anyone it touches. As for the actual ad spawns, these always come from the same 2 locations, either the left or right side of the arena, where the spawn side alternates with each cast, starting with the left side first, so you can pre-position as the tank to make getting aggro a bit easier. Note that when Vaer's Legacy is active, this cast will spawn an additional Recluse or Kidnapper mob, so you have an extra dispel or interrupt to stay on top of. Regardless of how many ads spawn though, you want to make sure you're cleaving them down fairly quickly, as if they're alive when the Mother's Milk channel begins, they'll gain stacks of a damage and health increase with each tick, which can get dangerous quickly. On top of that, this channel also applies a stacking magic dot to all players, so this is where you want to put things like group defensives or healing cooldowns. Plus, if you have a massive spell relic, they're really strong here to remove all the stacks from your entire group. To add some additional movement, we've got Venom Spray, which shoots out circles in front of the boss that deal heavy damage to any one hit, very similar to the Kidnapper's Razor Lace web cast that we mentioned previously. This ability does cast 3 times in a row, with the first cast always targeting the tank and the next 2 targeting random players, so tanks can make sure that first cast is pointed safely away from everyone else, but after that, all players will need to be ready to move for the remaining 2 frontals. Last up, there's the Tethering Webs ability, which binds 2 random players together and will stun them after a few seconds, which you can prevent by running away from each other to snap the webs. You want to make sure you do this quickly, so movement abilities are great here because you do not have long before the stun occurs, and once Vair's Legacy is active, you'll take an extra hit of damage from Devour if you fail to break your tethers, which gets lethal quickly. That is it for this video, guys. Hopefully you found it useful, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Fellowship Guide content, including guides to all the heroes and remaining dungeons you'll encounter during early access. My name is Tactics, signing off until next time. Good luck out there, fellows.